All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is your favorite warlock, practicing necromancer. I apologize for not really being on much over the last week. Number one, we had the holidays and Black Fridays, last Thursday and Friday. I actually came down with a cold, severe form of it. So I've been kind of down for the last week. And I still went to work and did my job and my duties, through work and everything. But for the most part, it was just me, work, um, walking the dog, making sure the dog was taken care of, making sure the cats were taken care of, and really focusing on me for the last week. You've probably seen a few proverbs or a little bit of clips and stuff and photos over the last week. That's mostly all I could do. I couldn't really speak due to the soreness and the rawness of the throat. The ingestion of the sinuses and the lungs. It's one of those type of colds that just drop you and hinder you in a lot of ways. So I kind of focused on me for the last week, and so now it's time to get back to it. Um, get back into the research, the knowledge, the wisdom, the teaching. And one of the things that I do want to talk about is something that I've really started seeing lately. Last week, I started volunteering my time and kind of working with troubled dogs from a shelter. And I really kind of enjoy this because of the fact that these dogs deserve a chance to find a family and a good home. Now, there's been a small little hiccup with this one dog, but I don't focus on that. It's more of the achievements that we've achieved together. And that's something that actually works great because you're not mad at the dog. You can't blame the dog for doing what it does naturally. And there are ten things that go into why a dog would attack another dog. And even though you've worked with them on obedience training, there's a lot of obedience training from the past and that showed. But you can't really fault it for doing what it does. Its nature. It would be like judging a snake and condemning it to slither on its belly. Is that not what it does naturally? I mean, just think about that for just a moment. And so lately, I've been just doing a lot of Googling, um, working through Slavic witchcraft and the entire regions such as Norwegian, Denmark, Belgium, Germany, Croatia, Slovakia um, area, and all the way up into Russia within Old German, the old languages and the old tongues, and just working with certain deities. And something came to mind while I was working with this one pup that humans tend to, how should I say this? Humans tend to put in a lot of preconceived perceptions, asking a lot of questions without actually contemplating on why, how. See, for an example, the first time I took this dog into the kennel was with about 8 to 10 other dogs. There was no instance, just a little growling, a little snapping, a little snarling type thing. Just your basic. aggression because it's a natural predatory species. So you're looking at this as, say, for example, when you look at a dog pushing its way into a kennel, it's more of the fact that this dog is looking for a connection, but it's also looking to make its mark. As one of my cats sneaks into the altar room. Ironic. So, when you look at it this way, they're trying to establish a pecking order. Humans do the exact same thing. It's about dominance, it's about pride, ego. It doesn't matter if it's flashy dress code, wearing a $1 million watch, fancy suit. It doesn't matter about any of that stuff. That stuff really does not matter. But the individual who brought the dog for me to work with, this person kept asking all kinds of questions. Do you think? Do you think? Do you think? Well, why don't you let me get to know the pup, get to know the demeanor of the pup? It's me and the pup, not you, me, and the pup. You came to me to work with this dog, to train this dog and get it back into the shape it was before. Now, you're not giving me a lot to work with, but you're putting your own opinions in so that you can't really focus on what you need to be doing. Okay? Now, when we look at humanity and we look at all these fads going on, you had everybody thinking Christianity's correct. They're superior. They will win. This is the mainstream JCI, the Judo Christian institutions. So everybody wants to be like them. For an example, when somebody realizes, hey, you can go to this location and become a minister, they just hand out minister license. But how many people actually stop to actually go through the courses, go through the actual training? How many times do you see somebody going to multiple different organizations and learning from different types of ministers, be it a satanic priest or a Wiccan priest or priestess, maybe a Polero, okay? Not just a Christianized minister, okay? This is a thing of dogma that has popped up because they think that now they have this title, we can do whatever the fuck we want. Well, guess what? It's not true. Have you ever studied the legal system, either nationally or, say, for an example, local, state, federal law? How about international law? Have you even read about the Canaan laws, specifically that of 1, 2, and 3, sections 1, 2, and 3, to be precise? You can sit there and you can name yourself an archbishop. You can name yourself a bishop. You can name yourself a pastor, a reverend, whatever. But when it comes down to it, do you have the necessary temperament for that position? Okay. The Canaan law, for an example, tells you exactly what it takes to be a bishop. Okay. Most ministers will sit there and go, well, you have to go through our school. You have to go through, say, a Catholic schooling. You have to learn about their doctrine, their ways, everything, their theology. Whereas you can go to any number of biblical colleges worldwide and become a minister through 2 to 4 years worth of training. Okay. There was one minister years ago when he approached me and said, "You would make a great minister. I've watched you. You listen, you give great and excellent advice." And this is around the time I started noticing people looked at me as an elder. I had no freaking clue until that point, you know? So this guy came to me and he says, "Have you ever thought about the ministry?" That was back in '09. In 2011, I became an ordained archdeacon. 2013, an ordained priest. Last year, I took the exams to become a bishop. Fortunately, the knowledge that I've developed over the years set my scores a lot higher. So I ended up becoming an archbishop. Shocked the hell out of me as well. But the point is that you can't just read a book and call yourself a Lord of Darkness. Okay? It just don't work like that. And then you got these ones sitting there doing all this flashy ass shit on social media, doing things like changing their eye color into a demonic or angelic perspective, if you will, like putting in different contact lenses. I don't actually know the terminology when it comes to technology to describe to you what they use um, for it, but I guess it's, from what I understand, it's some kind of app that they can do, and it changes the color of the lenses of your eyes, much like you do. I mean, anybody remember going to like a foundation and getting a contact lens that has different colors, like say a demonic one or an angelic one, or even a gothic one, or demonic one, or whatever. Excuse me. Um, so if it's not that, it's this whole thing about you know tugging on your clothes, and then all of a sudden you're in a different outfit, like say a bikini, or say a dress, fully clothed, you know, like you'd be going out to a fancy dinner, like a ball. Everybody wants money, everybody wants fame, and everybody's chasing that money and fame, but nobody's taking the steps to actually earn the right. So basically what you're doing is you're making it a fad. You're making it about something that it's not. Okay? So what is a fad? It is a fad is described in the dictionary as being something that everybody is following. It's become something that is basically popular. It's something that's popularized and everybody wants to be a part of it. When Satanism became a thing in a public perspective, from Anton Zandalavay's little appearances on talk shows, everybody wanted to suddenly come out of the woodwork and refer to themselves as a Satanist. This was a gimmick. And a lot of people will sit there and go, well, the Church of Satan is the first above ground satanic organization. No, it was not. If you actually delved into your research and history, you would know that Sloan had his own coven in Michigan. You would know that the Hellfire Priest, the Hellfire Club out of England, specifically that of London, was a satanic organization. If you look at the Order of the Nine Angles, their history goes all the way back to the 18th century. And some actually proclaim that it goes back further to the 17th century. Now, personally, as somebody who has studied and practiced Satanism for over 30 years before becoming a necromancer full time, I can tell you I have never once traced the ONA back to the 7th century, the 17th century. Not once. So to me, that particular thing is just a fad that everybody's running with. It would be like going on the internet and picking up a link and saying, well, this person is this. Next thing you know, somebody takes it, somebody else, somebody else, somebody else, and it becomes a fad. It becomes a popular item to diminish somebody's character or to increase that person's character, depending on your outlook. You got to remember that when it comes to publicity, there really is no good or bad side to it. All publicity is a good thing because number one, it shows you your faults. Number two, it's a learning experience. And number three, it shows you what you can improve on. Okay. So it doesn't just show you your strengths. It actually shows you what you still have to work on. It would be like, how should I say this? It would be like you getting into cartomancy, you know, modern day tarot card readings. A lot of times people put their own spin on what the cards represent and they pick and choose what to tell the client. Number one, it is not up to you on what to hold back on. When a client comes to you and has you perform a reading for them, good or bad, it is your responsibility to give them all the information so that they can make their own mind up. Somebody gets a devil card. Oh my God, I'm going to hell. Or you get the death card, and it's like, oh no, this person's going to die. It's not about death. It can be about death. It would be like having the Tower card, the Tower card, the Major Arcana card, where it shows that you have to destroy something to create something. Okay. Now, when we look at the world, when Russia invaded Ukraine, the media just lit right up on it. Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, you name it, it just lit right up. And it became a fad. They're still doing it. It's the same thing with Trump and Biden. Everybody's trying to condemn Donald Trump. But what about Biden and his nephew? How many laws has Biden himself violated? How about his son, who has been arrested and everything was swept under the carpet? You see, nobody really thinks about that. Nobody really pays attention to that stuff. It's always what the crowd is doing. Okay. Do I sit here on my videos and dress constantly in a $500 to $800 suit? No. Most of the time, I'm walking around in blue jeans, sneakers, or work boots. Steel toe work boots with either a t-shirt on or a dress shirt. Or I'm sitting here in my robe and a t-shirt and lounge pants like I'm doing today. I have no interest in being a part of a fad. I have no interest in being a part of the world. The thing that you got to remember is it's okay to follow some things. It's okay to ask questions. If you do not ask the question, you will not get the answer that you seek. So the thing to remember is you don't sit there and hound somebody on questions. You don't demand to know. You can ask a question. It's up to that individual to either give you that information or to guide you to the sources that will benefit you so that you do your own research. Okay? Mint tea, for an example. Let me see here. There you go. No time for your bullshit. A longtime friend who perished last year. Or actually, no, it wasn't last year. It was earlier this year. She died of COVID or related causes to it. She ended up buying me two of these mugs. One was a cat one, and this one here for Christmas one year. Ironically, about 3 to 4 months later, I actually saw her sitting on the bench, and 2 days later, ended up talking with a mutual friend of ours, and she told me that she had passed away. Well, guess what? That was a surprise. But here it is. Even then, a lot of people claim to be mediums. It does not make that true. Again, if you do not question, you do not learn. Okay? Somebody who claims to be this or that, I would ask, where is your titles? Where is your history in this? Okay? Where did you get your sources from? Where would you get your degrees from? See, I went through a government agency, a government ministry, and I did their courses, bought their propaganda materials. Even though it's Christian run, it's Catholic run, but it's a government recognized ministry. And on top of that, I've also worked my way through to a doctorate of divinity, and I have shown this my degrees online. This is something that has taken place over a decade. Okay, 2013 to 2023. Okay, but here it is. You're looking at 09 to 2023. We're now in December of 2023, December 1st. I went under Facebook today and I went into one of my groups and I posted a bunch of links. I posted a bunch of photos from Google sites that I've been reading about and studying on the Slavic black god, Chernobog. And I found them quite interesting because one of them came up under a Christianized perspective. And I thought this was very unique because one particular group says that this individual came to them back in the 14th century. But if you think about it, where do these beings originate? We know Ha Satan goes back to the Hebrew variation. El Shaitan goes back to the Jewish and Islamic tradition. But Chernobog is a Slavic deity that is known through Belgium, Croatia, Slovakia, um, all the way into Hungary and Germany and all that area. We're talking Scandinavian, Slavic traditions of Middle European, and we're talking going as far back as Old and Proto um, languages. Okay, but some of these deities only go back to like the 13th century, 14th century, and it's kind of interesting to view this because of the fact that this particular site suggested a Christian perspective of when they invaded the Slavs. Okay, and this perspective showed the war going on in heaven in the book of Revelations compared to that of chapter 1 in the book of Genesis, specifically that of verse 1 and 2. Now, I found this interesting because it kind of brought forth that thought provocative aspect of, huh, where does this originate? And I found a text that actually took it back to 1168, the 11th century, 1168. And there's hints that it goes back further than that. Okay. So when you look at something, the one thing I like about the traditions that I follow is they don't tell you what to believe. They don't tell you what to worship. They don't tell you what is what. That's up to you to do on your own. That's a sign of a great teacher. All they do is just guide you. You, on the other hand, it's up to you to sit there and go, okay, this person has dropped this gnosis and this gnosis. Does it align with history? Does it align with anthropology, thanatology, folklore? Does it go into archaeological aspects? Does it go into mythology? Do all of these sources line up with what this person is saying? I've always told my apprentices, if it doesn't align, don't follow it. Don't take things at face value, but instead take it with a salt, a little salt texture, and go, okay, I'll take what you have here. I'll think about it. I'll do some research. Okay. It's taken me about a week to get to where I'm at and tracing this one being back to the 11th century. But I also look as a necromancer, I've traced necromancy back to the 6th century BC. That's kind of cool. But I'm not on social media making a splash. I told one of my apprentices just the other day when he and I talked, and believe me, it was hard to speak because my throat, it hurt to swallow, and my throat was burning. Plus, you got the dry nose and all that stuff because of the atmosphere around you. So you don't want to make a splash because you're not going to be around long. That's what happens with flashy people. They come and they go. People who make a splash on social media do so just for the attention. That's all it is. And when you get more and more people doing this, it becomes a fad and it becomes pointless. Okay. And that's one of the reasons why I left Satanism behind and became a necromancer, was because it had become a fad and not about the actual practice. When you got organizations popping up left and right, and they have their own version of the creed, a lot of them have this regurgitated um, Church of Satan, LaVeyan creeds, and yet not one of these motherfuckers practice and follow the creeds and hold them close to heart. Even Peter H. Gilmore said that when one of these satanic sins pops up, there's another one that pops up to take its place, and you continue to learn and grow. But yet we're also talking about an atheistic man that has been friends with Anton Szandor LaVey since the 80s. Okay? So you don't want things to become a fad, and you don't want them to become flashy. That's the one thing I can say about the Church of Satan, is they're not flashy. Once a year they come out, and just like clockwork, so don't the Christians, to picket them. So I had a friend of mine that died of throat cancer. He was in Missouri, the Order of the Green Emerald. Basically, it was the Temple of the Green Emerald out of Missouri. He died of throat cancer. We just suddenly stopped hearing about him one day, and no idea what happened, or did he stroke out? Did he, whatever. His wife didn't even get under and say, hey, he passed away. He was looking to transfer his title to a successor, but I don't know if he found anybody. After that, I ended up getting into mediumship, and I started practicing the rites and the rituals. When John Saunders, my blood brother, died, I felt it. I knew exactly the time and who it was, and I reached out. It was a couple of weeks later that somebody stepped forward and said, yeah, he passed away. I had a conversation with a longtime friend of a decade that passed away in a hospital 8 days after Christmas. But yet, how do you know the difference between a fad and something that is real? I want you to take a look at that. I want you to take a strong look at your life and say, hey, with all these sources, all these things that are coming into play in my life, what does it have for meaning for me? Do I want to be a part of the fad, or do I want to sit there and actually put the time and the effort into my studies, my practices, my career, my family? You know, for an example, on the family aspect, my I spoke about this about a week or two ago, I think, and that last month, my son's mother lost her house. She was evicted. 2 days later, she lost her job. Well, guess what? We got her a new place. We got her a new job, and I've dropped. I paid 2 months worth of car payment. 2 months of. I even helped her with the phone bill, getting it reactivated, and which was like $150, 300, almost $400 on that, on the insurance aspect, and helped her with groceries and everything else on that. On top of that, because she's family, right? Well, a lot of people assume that a woman, a strong-willed woman, doesn't need a man. But what is loyalty and trust if you don't trust a person? Okay. She has never asked me for anything. Not once did she ask me to put forth money to help her. I did that on my own accord for our son because of the fact that, number one, it doesn't matter if she's with me or not. The reason for that is because of this. What if the school needs to get in touch with one of us? Okay. They need to contact us on the phones. Number two, without the car insurance, it's illegal to drive the vehicle. Okay. And the fines on those are quite ridiculous because you're looking at least $500 to $1,000. You know, just for that alone, it's ridiculous. Second, and then third, if you don't have a home, how are you going to take care of your family? Okay. I had a coworker, when she found out what I was doing, she looked at me and said, I'm proud of you for stepping up to the plate. You're looking after your family. I look at it from an animal perspective. Number one, my cats. So therefore, I'm the alpha of a litter. And then you have the dog, okay? My Opal. Opal girl is what I call her. She knows she's daddy's girl, just like these cats know that they're daddy's little girls. They're daddy's litter. I look after them, okay? It is your responsibility to look after your family, okay? They are your pack, they are your litter. So therefore, you have to be the man and step up to the plate and sacrifice. Okay. Now, what does sacrifice mean? Depends on the topic. Okay. When we're talking religiously, worship and dedication, being a servant to a spirit, being a servant to the people. That is what a minister does. Okay. Being a man, a husband, a boyfriend, a friend, whatever, even if you've had a child with somebody, your job is to your family. So therefore, you have to be a devout towards that family, no matter if you're with them or not. You have to be there for the child. You have to make sure that they are taken care of. And a lot of times today, they don't do that. So it becomes a fad of men versus women, the rich versus the poor, country versus country, okay? Religion against religion. And the cycle just keeps on repeating itself in a regurgitated manner. Nobody's learning, nobody's growing. So it's up to you to sit there and go, guess what? I'm done with this fad. I want to grow. I want to mature. I want to learn. I want to evolve. So I'm going to just, while you're going this way, I'm going to be that fish going up the stream while you and the spool are going down the stream. Okay? I don't care about flashiness. I don't care about the latest technology. I don't care who's running for office. I don't care what another country's doing. When people come to me, it is about me helping them. They've come to me for help. They've come to me for my services. They've come to me for questions and answers, to get answers from their questions. And if I have those questions, I will, the answers to their questions, I will give it to them. But I'm not going to sit there and say, well, I'm a know it all. I know everything, even though I've been referred to by certain individuals as a human encyclopedia or a human library. That just comes with years of practice and knowledge that certain things just stick into your head, and it's like, oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, this is what you're referring to. This is what you're looking at. I would suggest this, this, and this. But do you really want to sit there and do the work for someone else? Because that makes you their bitch. That makes you their property. That makes you their servant. But here's the thing, if you want to be a good teacher, you want to be a good elder, try guiding them gently to the material. Check out this. Okay? Check out the Canaan laws and what it takes to be a upper echelon member of the ministry. What does it take to become a minister? What kind of attitude should you have? You know, what does it take to be a devout worshiper of spirits, entities? What does it mean to be a family man? These are things you're going to have to ask yourself. No one else can do that for you. Only you can. But don't let it become a fad. Don't let it control you. I mean, I get you want to be a part of something. I get you want a place to belong. Okay? I get it. But you got to remember that the left hand path is not for the faint of heart. A lot of times you're going to end up being a solitary practitioner. You're going to be isolated. Okay? And you're going to have to learn, just like a child at some point in their development, to stand on your own 2 feet. But like I said, if you don't ask the question, you're not going to have the answers. Like this lady that brought the dog to me. She's asking all kinds of questions, but she's not willing to wait to understand the answers. Just chaotic mind. One thing right after the other. There's no discipline. There's no focus. There's no dedication, no commitment. You like working with pups? You like doing the occult? Cool. But you got to be patient. You got to be open minded, and you got to be observant to be able to do what needs to be done. That's something for you to learn. But don't become a fad. Don't become a member of a fad, because that just makes you flashy. You're just making a splash. Like all these Illuminati wannabes. 99% of them, they're nothing more than cons. If the real Illuminati is out there, why the fuck would they want you? What makes you so special to be a part of that? And why would you go to a Satanist to join the Illuminati? Don't you think it would be more of realistic to go find somebody that's, associated with the Illuminati and ask them how to join? Just saying. But that's up to you. Again, fads are not a good thing. They come and go, they rise and fall like structures of man made design, because that's all they are. I've seen more religions rise and fall than, coven wise, temple wise, than you can imagine. But it takes somebody dedicated to the arts and the practices to even get anywhere. Look at Lionel and Patricia Fanthorpe, who wrote Satanism and Demonology, for an example. They did it through an archaeological aspect, not just a folklore and mythological aspect. They actually took it into different countries, and they literally showed proof and facts of the old names, like Astaroth, for an example, or that of Satan, Belial, the demons, Lilith, and all that, just going from Egyptian all the way up through the Middle East. Go into world history, and you're going to see the exact same thing. You know, go into necromancy. Go into the Egyptian Book of the Dead or the Tibetan Book of the Dead. You know, go into thanatology. One of the biggest practices that I got into was thanatology. Man, did I love that research. That just blew my mind as a necromancer. And now I'm looking at a type of surgery that deals with excuse me, that deals with healing processes, things that was put forth to me, and it was like, huh. In a psychic manner, you can actually even use psionics to do this, or radionics. Focus on yourself, go into the research, the herbs, the seals, something that would help you sustain your body, but also overturn the degradation of the decay. We got all these poisons in our foods, all these chemicals. But yet, if you start fasting on a yearly basis, say for an example, a single month, you're learning that, guess what? All these impurities are leaving your body. Certain things are resetting, like a clock. But in this case, your immune system or your joints, your cardiovascular system, even get reset. But how many people take the time to learn about the different types of fastings out there? Probably about 1%. You're looking at 1 out of 100 people, or 1 out of 1,000, 1 out of 1,000,000, that sits there and goes, wow, that's amazing. Black fast, Daniel fast, Keta fast, milk fast. Wow. And at different intervals, it does this. This occurs. So you're studying each fast as you perform it. You're learning about the fast and what it does for the body. But most people, they'd rather go to a fast food joint. They'd rather go to a restaurant. They'd rather follow the fads and go into grocery stores and pick up this, and this. Eat more. Learn to do more. Oh, this is healthy for you. This isn't healthy for you. Well, guess what? How many times did they say that chocolate was good for you and then turn around and dismiss it and say, oh, it's not good for you? Did you know that the sugar clogs your kidneys? Hmm. Or how about salads are good for you? But yet, too much salad, it, logically speaking, is not good for you. Hmm. You can enjoy chocolate, just don't make it a fad. Same thing with salads. You look with your oric acids, for an example. Eat more onions. You know, look at the stuff and the ingredients you put into your salads. What does it do for the body? How can it be played into a fast over, say, for an example, 2 weeks, 3 weeks? The Daniel fast takes about 3 weeks, 21 days. The black fast, you're looking at 30 days. It's an extreme Catholic version. Whereas the Daniel fast is out of the mainstream JCI Bibles. The Keto fast is more scientifically based. And then you have the milk fast, which was the latest one I learned about. And you're seeing how that plays into effect because of all the chemicals that is in them, that there's added to them, that you have to sit there and go, okay, I got to go find a milk that is not associated with all these chemicals. So now everybody's gone to all these alternative milks like almond milk or coconut milk. Okay. Even what's the latest one? Oat milk. Okay. Everybody's so afraid of having an allergic reaction that has become a fad. Oh my God. All these companies, you can't mix an everything bagel in with a plain bagel. Or guess what? Multigrain bagels and cinnamon raisin bagels are now considered allergic reactions. They're an allergic element now, like coconut donuts or butternut donuts. We have seen more allergic compounds in the last 50 years than you have in over 300 years. Why? Because since the 1930s, everybody's been following the same model. You got to get the revenue. Inflation. It's all about this. It's a fad. But what happens when you step away from that fad? You become the devil. You become the adversary. You become the accuser. You become the monster that everybody thought was underneath their bed at night. If knowledge is evil, no wonder they condemn it in schools. No wonder parents are sitting there going, well, you can't teach our kids about this. Is that why you're giving first graders math that should be taught in high school or even college? Wow. And you expect a first grader, a 6-year-old, to learn that level of math? And instead of going by normal grades, now you're going by letters of the alphabet? I mean, think about this for an example. When a teacher has to go to the principal to find out how to do these math, how the fuck do you expect a 6-year-old child to do, a first grader to do these math problems if the teacher themselves don't even know how to do it? You see what I mean? These are all examples of fads that are going around the world. Don't become a fad. You're just continuing to make the idiocy continue to go around. You're promoting idiocy, stupidity, hypocrisy, duality. You're continuing to keep the segregation going. You're continuing to keep the dogma going. You're continuing to keep it all going. And that's what they want. That's what the governments are doing. That's what the Christians want. Why else would they be having their own police force, their own city? And that's just the Catholics. You go into the main body of the JCI, you got ministers owning their own football fields, their own football stadiums. 1.5 million raking in a year. 1.5 million. You got entire collection or brotherhood or sisterhood of churches coming into play, and one person reaping that dough. Always an excuse of why they need money. But yet they got anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 sitting in their bank account at any given time. They're driving around in $75,000 vehicles or $155,000 vehicles like a Cadillac or a King Ranch full ton. Okay? The rest of you driving in these rusted old rust buckets. Why? Giving them all your hard-earned money, and they get these big mansions while you sit on your ass in a one-bedroom apartment. Wow. You can either play their game or play your own. That's up to you. And then you wonder why you got riots in the street. People talking about a revolution, countries attacking other countries. Is it out of fear? Necessities to survive? Hmm. Basically, Stefan, I was just reading your comments here. Yeah, and that's the other thing. They manipulate the scripture. I mean, mankind is the only species around that takes something that's good and turns it into something vile. Again, a fad. Satan's the bad guy, but yet it was Jehovah that sent him after Job to begin with and told him you can't kill him. Really? So how did he become a murderer then? Interesting. You're going to curse a serpent to slither on its belly when that's exactly what it does? And how does a snake become a dragon? Last time I knew, there were two different species. Just saying. But, anyways, I'm going to end it here. Have a good one. I'm going to go grab lunch. Enjoy.